The Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians. The USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about.
America issues a warning. Nigeria stays silent. And the world is left wondering, is Nigeria losing its grip on security, or is the United States overstepping its boundaries? Something is shifting, not just diplomatic relations, but the delicate balance between faith, power, and fear in Africa's largest democracy. Nigeria, November 2025, home to 220 million people, a nation that's powerful, proud, and restless. But beneath the surface of this giant, trouble is brewing. In the northern villages, homes are going up in flames. The sound of church bells has been replaced by gunfire. Entire families disappear in the night. What started as scattered incidents of violence has evolved into something far more sinister, a disturbing pattern. For months, the world has watched reports emerge of Christians being killed across Plateau State, Benue, Kaduna, and Taraba. Local media shows images of charred houses, grieving mothers, and abandoned churches. Yet the government maintains that everything is under control. America isn't convinced. On a chilly Washington morning, the U.S. Secretary of State steps up to the podium. Her voice is measured, but her words carry weight. The United States will not stand by while innocent Christians are being targeted in Nigeria. We're reassessing our entire relationship with Abuja, including military support and trade agreements. The statement hits like a thunderclap. Within hours, Nigeria's foreign ministry fires back, calling it a political threat wrapped in human rights language. But Washington doesn't back down. Word spreads through diplomatic channels about potential sanctions, visa bans, and the possible suspension of security assistance unless Nigeria takes concrete action. In diplomatic speak, this isn't just concern, it's a line in the sand. For everyday Nigerians, this showdown feels deeply personal. Christians in the Middle Belt say they've been left to fend for themselves, that security forces arrive too late, if they come at all. Meanwhile, Muslim communities worry they're being scapegoated for violence committed by armed groups that nobody fully understands. This isn't a religious war, many argue. It's a fight for survival. But on social media, the narrative gets muddied fast. Hashtags explode, stop killing Christians. Nigeria on fire. To American threat. In churches and mosques alike, people whisper nervously, is the US really prepared to punish Nigeria? And what happens if they do? Inside Abuja's power corridors, there's barely concealed panic. American intelligence reports suggest the Nigerian military has looked the other way during militia attacks on Christian communities. Officials flatly deny this, dismissing the claims as propaganda. But an anonymous government insider tells Reuters, some people in power know the truth, they're just too scared to say it out loud. It could end their careers. In Washington, policy analysts debate whether sanctions would help or harm the situation. Nigeria is a major oil and gas supplier, and a crucial military ally in the fight against terrorism across West Africa. If America pulls out, groups like Boko Haram and ISWAP could regain ground. But if America stays silent, what does that say about its commitment to human rights? It's a moral dilemma with no easy answers. Months down to the video that changed everything. Then something happens that shifts the entire conversation. Grainy footage surfaces online, unverified, shaky, filmed on someone's phone. Armed men storm a small Christian village in Plateau State. Gunshots ring out. People scream. Buildings burn. By morning, over 30 people are confirmed dead. The video goes viral. International outrage pours in. And America releases another statement, this one much harsher. If the Nigerian government cannot protect its own citizens, we will fundamentally reconsider our strategic partnership. That single line changes everything. Overnight, diplomacy transforms into confrontation. News networks worldwide begin asking, is America about to punish one of its African allies? The following day, Nigerian President Bola Tinubu addresses the nation on TV. His voice is controlled but tense. Nigeria will not be bullied. We reject any foreign interference in our affairs. We are a sovereign nation, and we'll handle our problems our own way. Crowds in Lagos and Abuja cheer and wave flags. But in Jos, Makurdi, and Kaduna, where churches continue to burn, people just stare at the ground. For them, this isn't about national pride. It's about staying alive. Behind the scenes, diplomats scramble to cool tensions. The African Union issues a careful statement calling for dialogue. But nobody trusts dialogue anymore. The killings continue, the threats continue, and between Washington and Abuja, the silence becomes deafening. Nobody knows what's coming next, but everyone can feel it building. When faith becomes a battlefield and truth becomes a weapon, peace is always the first casualty. In a secure building near the White House, lights burn late into the night. Inside, a classified meeting is underway. No press, no cameras, just senior officials, intelligence analysts, and a thick folder stamped Confidential Africa Desk. The folder is opened, revealing satellite images, witness statements, and intelligence briefings from officers on the ground in Nigeria. The conclusion sends shockwaves through the room. Evidence points to deliberate targeting of Christian villages by armed groups, with inadequate response from Nigerian forces. The official running the meeting looks up quietly. If this leaks, everything changes. But secrets have a way of getting out. Within days, a whistleblower tips off an American news outlet. The headline spreads like wildfire. U.S. intelligence links Nigerian security failures to ethnic and religious bias. Nigerian media picks up the story. Talk shows erupt with anger and disbelief. Government supporters call it fake news designed to tarnish Nigeria's reputation. But opposition leaders say it's the truth everyone's been afraid to speak. If our government can't protect its own people, one senator declares, then what right do we have to tell America not to act? In Abuja, opposition figures grow bolder. They accuse the government of ignoring rural massacres for political gain. Some even suggest that top officials are protecting militias that serve their interests. A former military officer, now living in exile, tells a journalist, "There are powerful people who profit from chaos. When Christians and Muslims are fighting, nobody's paying attention to corruption or stolen billions. This violence isn't random, it's managed." His video statement racks up millions of views. The Nigerian government calls it treason. But ordinary Nigerians just shake their heads, because deep down many suspect he's right. Nigeria is one of America's most important African partners, a major oil supplier and key player in regional security. Cutting ties could destabilize all of West Africa. But doing nothing could shred America's credibility on human rights. The National Security Council drafts a plan. Phase 1. Targeted sanctions against military officers suspected of complicity. Phase 2. Suspension of arms sales. Phase 3. Freeze on certain financial transactions. The operation is codenamed Safe Faith. But even within the U.S. government, some worry it could backfire, pushing Nigeria toward China or Russia. "We can't afford to lose Nigeria," one advisor warns. "But we can't afford to lose our moral authority either." Abuja doesn't sit quietly. At a fiery press conference, Nigeria's information minister declares, "The United States is using religion to divide our people. This isn't about Christians or Muslims. This is about power, and Nigeria refuses to be intimidated." Protesters take to the streets with signs reading, "Nigeria is not America's colony." National pride surges. But in rural communities where the violence is real, people just wonder, who's going to protect us now? A BBC Africa reporter travels to a small town in Benue State. There, an elderly woman named Mama Ruth stands beside the ruins of her church. "They came at night," she says quietly. "We prayed. We screamed. Nobody came to help." Her story isn't unique. It's echoed hundreds of times across central Nigeria. Village after village tells the same tale. Attacks, delayed rescue, silence. The reporter uploads her footage. Within hours it reaches Washington. The faces of survivors, exhausted, frightened but unbroken, begin to shift American public opinion. Churches across the U.S. start pressuring their government. Do something. Impose sanctions. Save them. At the United Nations in New York, tensions boil over. The American ambassador calls for an international inquiry into systematic killings of Christian minorities. The Nigerian delegate walks out in protest. African diplomats watch nervously, worried that the continent's largest nation is being isolated. China, sensing an opportunity, offers to help Nigeria strengthen security cooperation with no political strings attached. It's a direct message to Washington. If you push Nigeria away, we'll step in. The geopolitical chess game has begun. Late one night, A convoy of American weapons bound for Nigerian military bases is stopped at Lagos port. Customs officials receive an urgent order to hold the shipment for inspection. Inside sources say the government wants to prove it can survive without US support. At the same time, rumors circulate that Nigeria is in talks with Russian arms suppliers. A Western diplomat whispers to CNN, "If that happens, we're looking at a new Cold War playing out in Africa." Back in Plateau State, another church is attacked. The local pastor records a video standing among burned pews. "We have no enemies," he says. "We only want peace." But peace keeps slipping away from us. The video trends worldwide. Social media floods with tears and outrage. And once again, Washington feels the pressure of public opinion mounting. America's patience is wearing thin. Nigeria's pride burns hotter. And between them, the truth remains lost in the smoke. It's 2:17 a.m. in Abuja. The city sleeps, but inside Aso Rock Villa, the presidential residence, lights are still blazing. President Tinubu sits alone in his office, phone pressed to his ear. On the other end, the voice is cold and direct. "Mr. President, America's patience has run out. You need to act or we will." It's a direct call from the US Secretary of State. Not a warning anymore. An ultimatum. Tinubu listens in silence. When the call ends, he mutters to his advisor, "They think they can tell us how to run our country." But even as he says it, he knows the storm is already here. The next morning in Washington, the National Security Council convenes behind closed doors. Maps of Nigeria cover the conference table. Red circles mark the danger zones. Benue, Plateau, Kaduna, Taraba. Intelligence analysts brief the room. "Our sources confirm coordinated attacks. Militia networks are growing. Some local officials are either helping them out of fear or politics." The president asks, "What are our options?" A senior aide responds, "Economic pressure first, sanctions, then, if needed, suspension of military cooperation." Another voice adds, "Or we leak their secrets publicly. Once their reputation collapses, the government will have to bend." Heads nod around the table. The strategy is set. America will turn pressure into leverage. At the same time in Abuja, Nigeria's top security chiefs are meeting. They know Washington's move is coming, and they're preparing to fight back. The defense minister slams his fist on the table. "They're trying to paint us as a failed state. We won't allow it." But a senior intelligence officer interrupts quietly, "Sir, what if they already know? What if the Americans have our internal reports, the ones we buried?" The room goes silent. Everyone exchanges uneasy glances. Someone has leaked classified information. Someone close to the top. Days later, a covert meeting takes place at a luxury hotel in Accra, Ghana. Two men arrive separately. One is a US diplomat, the other a Nigerian insider. No cameras. No recordings. Just whispered words and folded documents. The Nigerian says, "If they don't stop the killings, the Americans will expose everything." The diplomat nods. "We don't want to destroy Nigeria. We want to wake it up." As they part ways, the Nigerian leaves behind a small flash drive. Inside, confidential security memos, intercepted communications and photographs, proof that elements within the Nigerian military knew attacks were coming and did nothing. That file will become the center of a political earthquake. 2 weeks later, an American newspaper runs a devastating headline. Leaked files show Nigerian military knew about Christian killings. The story explodes across CNN, BBC, and Al Jazeera. In Washington, politicians demand immediate sanctions. In Abuja, fury erupts. Government spokesmen call it a foreign conspiracy. But ordinary Nigerians start asking, if the reports are fake, why hasn't anyone shown us the real evidence? Faith turns into fury. The streets begin to shake. In Abuja, thousands of Christians march carrying crosses and banners reading "Protect Us Now." In the north, Muslim communities hold counter-protests, accusing America of weaponizing religion. Social media becomes its own battlefield. Every post, every comment, every video fueling the flames. American churches hold prayer vigils for Nigerian victims. Nigerian influencers accuse the US of hypocrisy. And somewhere between both sides, the truth keeps slipping away. Behind the chaos, quiet negotiations begin. An African Union envoy meets secretly with both sides. Washington offers a deal. If Nigeria agrees to international observers and reforms, sanctions will be postponed. But in private, Nigerian officials refuse. One minister tells the AU mediator, "We'd rather stand alone than bow before America." Yet not everyone in the government agrees. Some senior officials, fearing economic collapse, start talking to US diplomats in secret. They leak updates, offer assurances, trade information in exchange for protection or future power. The betrayal is coming from within. Then America makes its move. Sanctions are announced, visa restrictions, suspended aid, frozen accounts. Nigeria's currency plummets overnight. Foreign investors pull out. Fuel prices skyrocket. Protests turn violent. In Lagos, angry crowds burn American flags. In Washington, senators praise the sanctions as a stand for human rights. But the reality is more complicated, because the people suffering now aren't politicians. They're ordinary Nigerians. As both nations fight publicly, another player enters quietly, China. Chinese diplomats arrive in Abuja. All smiles for the cameras, offering billions in new trade deals. No lectures about human rights. No political conditions. Just business. Nigeria starts listening. America starts worrying. And somewhere in Beijing, someone whispers, "Let them fight, we'll build while they burn." The US wants justice. Nigeria wants respect. But somewhere between pride and politics, innocent people are still dying. And as foreign powers circle closer, the question grows darker. Is this still about faith, or has it become a global power game where Africa is just the playing field?